What's up, everyone? Welcome to Ashley Talks Movies, and welcome to another episode of The Recap. This is the entertainment show I'm doing here on the channel, along with my friend Jed.
Hi,
Hi,
Ashley.
Jed.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm very excited to do another episode. There's so much entertainment news to talk about since the last time we did an episode. There's been so much happening. We're not going to get to all of the big headlines, but we have a few topics that we're going to talk about, and I'm very excited about those. The first one is one that, as soon as I saw this headline, I cheered
I feel
because
like this came out like right after we did the last episode too, and I was like,
yes,
of
yes, it was
course,
just the perfect timing. So it's that Coyote versus Acme is actually going to be released in theaters. So a little backstory for those of you who might not have kept up with this saga. Coyote versus Acme is this live action animated hybrid movie featuring Looney Tunes, and it stars Will Forte. And Warner Brothers was going to release it, and then they decided to scrap it and take a write down on it. And the internet was social media was swift with the backlash. Everybody was like really upset about this. I was actually surprised with how upset people got about this because I didn't realize people were that um, fond of the Looney Tunes. But as more and more came out about this movie and what it was going to be and all the work that had been put into it, a lot of people were like, well, you need to release it, like at least give it a chance in theaters. Like, why are you just not gonna show it? It's done, right? It's not like a movie it's in development or production. Like, it's done. And so then Warner Brothers was like, okay, well, let's like let the director shop it around, see if another studio or streamer will pick it up. And Ketchup Entertainment is the one that has acquired the rights and will be releasing it in theaters. Now, what's interesting about this is the same company that just released the most recent Looney Tune film in theaters. So I guess they're like, hey, why not release this one? But I'm very happy that it's going to be released in theaters.
I think the cool thing, or maybe a difference in this project is there were a lot of people that worked on the movie that were like, this is really good, and it's sad that nobody's going to get to see it. So
Yeah,
now my
yeah.
hesitation here is, so Ketchup had the day the Earth blew up, I think it was the name of that, and
Hmm.
didn't really promote it. So if there's no promotion behind this, like I know people are excited about this.
Yeah, but I feel like this is almost like a different beast because I feel like, I mean, they definitely need to promote it, but I
Yes.
think I think they jumped on this given that probably they didn't spend a lot on promotion on the last Looney Tunes movie because, for budgetary reasons, right? They're not, that doesn't seem like they're a big company. With this, they probably jumped on this because they're like, we have a built-in, marketing
Yeah,
right here.
people
This is the movie that Warner Bros. Was going to scrap, and we saved it, and people are already looking forward to this. They've been championing for this movie to be released. Again, I still think they should budget in some marketing, but I think it's a little different than that one. But
I
we'll
just don't
see.
want to see this, like, number one, I hope it's great because with all the buzz
Yeah.
that's been generated, but
We've been
also
lied
I
to.
just want people to like see it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and not just have this like brushed under the rug. What's interesting is some of the streamers were interested in this and Warner Brothers
Hmm.
said no. So I don't know
Hmm.
why, I don't know what deal like Ketchup made with them, but look, I'm just glad it's going to see the light of day. I'm not sure. I don't
Yeah.
think they've said like a release date for it yet. But then like, what do you
No, I don't think so.
when do you bring this out? And on top of that, does this mean that
Mhm.
we might eventually see the Batgirl movie that's also like sitting in there waiting for the light of day?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit later about some of the DC movies, but it might depend on how well some of these other DC superhero movies do as to whether they decide, okay, maybe we do dust the Batgirl movie off the shelf, and yeah, unless it's just been completely destroyed, I don't know. Um, what's curious about Coyote versus Acme, you mentioned that some streamers were interested in it, and Warner Brothers didn't take on their offers. I wonder if it was either a matter of money, like maybe the whatever amount the streamers were willing to pay for it wasn't quite what Warner Brothers was willing to take to part with this, or maybe they worked out a deal where, because I imagine like if it's streamers, like if Netflix was interested in this, I imagine Netflix would want to be able to have that movie on its platform for a few years,
Right.
right? Which means it's not going to be on Max. I guess unless they could work out a deal. Whereas this one, Ketchup gets the theatrical rights to it, and then once it has its theatrical run, it can just go on Max, and then that could be a way that HBO can get people to subscribe to the service. So maybe that's why they went with that. I don't know. I don't know all the details, but that's pretty interesting. So I don't know if it was a matter of money or something else.
Give me those Looney Tunes, man. If you're going to take them off of Max, at least give them to me in the theater.
I'm a big fan of Looney Tunes, and like you said, so many people who worked on this said it was good, and I just hate the idea of whether it's good or not, because I've seen plenty of bad movies as well. But to me, filmmaking, the whole process of making a movie is a team effort, and when it's a big budget movie like this, a lot of people worked on it. Now, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. It's just like a lot of people spent their time, energy, and creativity on it. And to have a movie be made and finished, and then, a company go, we're just going to take a write off. It's like, so all those people's hard work is just, they're like, wow, I did all that and no one's going to get to see what we did.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they like it or not, like, no one's going to be able to see it and judge for themselves. I hate that. So the fact that this movie is getting released feels like a victory for that. It's like, okay, let's just not keep writing off movies and shelving them. If they're done, let's release them and then let the public decide if they like it and if there's a market for it. But
this could be an interesting strategy for the future, because if there's a movie that they're not sure about, if they pull it and get the internet behind it, then all of a sudden...
Well, I don't know if that's a good strategy, because I remember the Hollywood Reporter story that came out about the Coyote versus Acme deal. In it, they said that, some sources told them that people like, producers and whatnot were making calls to cancel meetings with Warner Brothers.
Oh,
so I don't know if you want to like put the message out there that
that's true.
You will develop something and then maybe you just shelve it to whatever. Even if it is a strategy to see like, is this something people will like? I think the creatives will be like, I don't know if I want to work with that studio if all you're gonna do is just
like dangle it,
to tease my work and make leverage it or something.
It's like a weird crowdfunding kind of thing, like
so maybe not. Let's not do that. So next topic is, this one's very interesting, and I'm really curious to see how this plays out. So apparently, Sam Mendes, very talented director. I like a lot of his movies. 1917 being one of them. Skyfall. Was it Skyfall?
Skyfall, yeah.
Yeah.
Good Will Hunting.
One of my favorite James Bond movies. He is directing 4 new Beatles movies, and they're all going to be released in 2027, I think it's
I think so, yeah.
And they revealed the cast, which is, let's see, I'm gonna make sure I get all this right. So we have, I have all this pulled up because I can't remember everything. So we have Paul Mescal as Paul McCartney, Harris Dickinson as John Lennon, Barry Keoghan as Ringo Starr, and Joseph Quinn as George Harrison. Very good cast. I mean, I like all of these actors, and I've seen all of them in something recently. So I think very talented cast.
Other than Barry, like maybe not like super, like not like household names, which is probably good for something like this.
I do think so. I think it's very good that a lot of these actors are established enough that people might recognize their faces.
Yes.
But like you said, not household names, because that way it doesn't overshadow, they're playing the Beatles. Because it happens sometimes with some of these really big actors where they reach a level of, no matter what role they're in and no matter how great their performance is, you still see them. It's kind of like that thing with like Will Smith and sometimes Denzel Washington, where it's like, he could be playing whatever and he's so good, but it's Denzel Washington.
Right.
Right, exactly. You almost can't separate it. So I think it's good that they're going with actors that aren't necessarily like super famous right now. But the thing that kind of like really is, I'm very curious about is the fact that it's 4 movies. like, because I know there's like there's been tons of like biopics and things about the Beatles. There's one that came out a few years ago. Was it called Get Back? And it
Mm-hmm.
was like 4-part one directed by, was it Peter Jackson?
Peter Jackson did one.
Yeah,
Didn't Ron Howard do one like during the
I feel
pandemic
like
too?
something like that. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm conflating both of them. But yeah, so like, but this one, those are documentary series and things like that. This is 4 separate movies on each member of the band. So I'm curious about, is it going to be a situation where it's like, okay, you have like the John Lennon movie and it mostly focuses on John Lennon, but then when you watch the Paul McCartney movie, there's similar scenes, but now it's just shown from Paul's perspective, or
I mean,
like maybe there's a scene where like they're having a conversation, and in the John Lennon movie, like the focus is on John. Then you get to the Paul McCartney
mm-hmm.
movie, it's that same conversation, but it's focused on
I mean,
Paul.
that makes sense, right? I mean, that would be the easiest way to do this at the same time is
Yes,
to
but
have that
also like,
overlap.
do I want to sit and watch 4 movies like that?
Like, I might be in for the John Lennon and the Paul McCartney part, but do I want a whole Ringo Starr movie or
George
like
Harrison.
George Harrison? Yeah, like
I mean, and that's my thing. Like, are they releasing them all in one, like on the same day?
yeah, I don't
And
know
it's,
about that. I think it's all in
or
the
is it like
same
they're
year
staggering?
for
Well,
sure.
yeah, but like,
But
yeah, but
um
because they mentioned, I don't know what they said. They were like something about it's going to change the way you look at like cinematic events or something. And I'm like, and we were talking about that not too long ago, where it's
mhm.
like, you need to make event films, you need to, but I was like, I don't know if that's what I meant. Like, I don't know if it's like, okay, watch the Beatles this weekend. And it's like, you can watch all 4 movies back to back, or they just release all 4 of them and you can just watch whenever. But
Or
I
oh,
don't know if I want to watch 4 separate movies. I don't know how long they are. Are they each 2 hours? I mean, I have questions. I have so many
yeah,
questions
I
regarding
mean,
this.
yeah, do you make them like, the 2.5 hour movies that we're getting for everything else? Because that's like, you know, 9 hours of 9, 10 hours of
That's
Beatles
what I'm
content. Like
curious
that's a
about. It's one
lot.
thing if it's like, like an hour long, like, so, extended episode kind of thing, which in that case it could have been a series.
Right.
But if it's like a full on movie for each one of them, how long is that going to be? And then how is it going to be structured? Can you watch one without having to bother with
That,
watching the other? Will you get enough sense of, I don't know. I'm
they're gonna do that one day in the theater where you can camp out and watch like all 4 back to back. But I was thinking like before
if
the
they do that, I will do it for the channel. I say that now. I'm
oh, you
regretting.
heard it here first, people. Like she's gonna edit this out later, right?
Yes. Don't hold me to it.
No, I was thinking before the show started, we were chit chatting, and you had mentioned having like 4 screens up at the same time watching TV. You could do that
Oh
with the
yeah.
Beatles movies and watch all of them at once. And when they hit that scene, like maybe it happens at the same time, and you can see the
Sync them
different
all together.
perspectives.
Yes. Yeah, I just have so many questions around this. Like, I don't mind, experimenting. I think, Hollywood needs to do a lot more of that because we keep getting some of the same kind of stuff. But also, I just wonder, how is this going to do box office wise? I mean,
Yeah,
it's already tough enough to get people to go to a theater. I don't know. I mean, the Beatles are huge. I mean, they're huge. But is there a fan base out there big enough to support something like this? Do you
I
know what I mean?
mean,
Like,
I feel like I mean, I feel like if anybody could do it, it's the Beatles because they do have such a fan base. You
yeah,
know,
but I mean, I do wonder, is there a big enough audience for the Beatles to support 4 films um in theaters? I don't know. I'm
so
I'm slightly skeptical.
I
Skeptical.
immediately thought when I read this story, I immediately thought of the was it last year or 2 years ago that Kevin Costner was going to do like a 3-part
Oh, the Western. What was that
movie.
called? What was
I
it?
was it something heritage, like American Heritage, or I don't know. I may be
I gotta
making
look
that
this up.
totally up. But all I remember was the first one came out and did not do well, and we have not seen the others, I don't think, unless they went to
Horizon.
streaming. Oh, Horizon, yes,
Horizon, an
yes.
American Saga. Yeah,
Yeah. First of all, that
yeah.
title, yikes. But
Well, it when I saw that, it screamed series to me.
yes. I
And I
mean,
think it would have worked as a series. People would
right.
have sat there and binged it. I think that's the thing. I think seeing Hollywood say, "Oh, people binge shows on Netflix and streaming services all the time. Why can't we do that here in the cinema?" But it's different binging something at home
Right.
when you can just freely, pause it, get up, go to the bathroom, get your snacks, and you can, it's in the comfort of your home, versus doing a marathon in a movie theater. Uh, I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. I am very curious. All right. So, since the last time we did an episode, there was this thing called CinemaCon, and in preparation of that, all these studios were releasing all kinds of teasers and trailers and things like that. Um, Marvel, got in ahead of the game and was deciding that they were going to uh, tease their Doomsday cast, and I mean, literally had the entire world glued to social media.
For like 5.5 hours, right? Like it was a super
I
long
was listen. I was
stream.
one of those people.
Oh wow.
Um, I well, I
So you
had
could
it
have it on
on.
in the background and
Yeah, I
like,
had it on
yeah.
the background, just kind of watching, and I didn't know what to expect with that because they basically were revealing the cast. They showed a chair with Chris
Hmm.
Hemsworth's name, and I'm like, okay, so is it Chris Hemsworth? Or what's this going on? And then like 5 or 10 minutes later, they moved the camera to another chair, and that continued. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be a
Forever.
while.
Yeah.
It's gonna forever. It's gonna take forever. And literally, it was like I was working on stuff, and then I'd hear the music. They play some music, and then they reveal another chair. So I'm looking up, like, who do they announce now? Um, but so everybody was glued to their screens to see who was going to be announced as cast in the Doomsday movie. And then I saw a lot of chatter afterward, and even the story that we pulled up here was people thinking, "Oh my gosh, Marvel just spoiled Thunderbolts because Thunderbolts is coming out in May," and people are like, "Well, they announced cast members that are in the Thunderbolts for Doomsday," and they're like, "They just spoiled the movie." Um, I have to disagree,
Hmm.
but well, okay. So here are my thoughts on this. Marvel is so with Kevin Feige at the helm. Marvel has been for their entire run of their cinematic universe, they've been very good about not having spoilers leak, with the exception of when Tom Holland accidentally says something. But they're really good about not having spoilers,
Right.
right? Even when the Russo brothers were doing like Endgame and Infinity War, they released whole letters like asking fans, please don't ruin the movie for other people. Like, give people at least a week to get into the theater, watch the movie before you start sharing spoilers and things online, memes and all this other stuff that might spoil the movie. So I'd have to believe that there's absolutely no way that they came up with this entire marketing strategy, and it's like, oh yes, we revealed that the actors in Thunderbolts are going to be in Doomsday, so that just means no one dies. Hello, the MCU has introduced the multiverse. Doomsday is going to have Robert Downey Jr. return as a completely different character. He's not going to be playing Iron Man. He's going to be playing Doctor Doom. We've already seen in movies like uh, Deadpool versus Wolverine, like other actors from the Fox
Hmm.
Marvel movies show up, and as other characters versus their personas in the MCU. So I have to believe that just because they revealed the cast for Doomsday does not mean that the stakes are lowered in Thunderbolts and that there aren't any deaths. I think there could be, and these actors are just going to either reappear as those characters, maybe in flashbacks, as different versions of other characters. Who knows? We don't know. And so I was just, it was very curious seeing people online all jump on this bandwagon of like, oh, the Marvel has spoiled it. When I thought, I don't know, there might be more to this than that. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I I'll be honest, until I saw the trailer for Thunderbolts, I had forgotten Taskmaster was even alive. Like I couldn't tell you what happened at the end of Black Widow. Um
Yeah.
I've forgotten most of that movie. I mean, I'm glad to see like Florence Pugh and David, why am I blanking on his name? Um
Harbor.
Yes, Harbor. H
So many
words,
names to
Horizon, and
remember.
like, yeah, I can't keep them straight today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited that they're coming back. I did enjoy their characters and stuff like that. But then I was like, oh yeah, Taskmaster, he's still around. Okay.
Well,
Um,
but also, Taskmaster, you're talking about Black Widow. That's a movie that took place
before,
before the
yeah,
events of where a character did die,
yes,
but it's set ahead of time. So,
yeah, it could
um,
be. You're right. I mean, there's so much multiverse stuff going on that it's hard to like, because I keep seeing and I was wondering this too, like Fantastic Four, you're seeing this kind of like retro futuristic world, and then you have like Galactus, and I'm like, well, that's such a big bad guy. And then people were like, well, this world is probably going to be destroyed. Like this probably isn't the Earth that we know. Um, you
right,
know,
like, yeah, and so
and
there's
so
so many ways and different ways they could take these stories because of the introduction of
yeah,
the multiverse. Because even in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, there was a different uh, Reed Richards,
yes, right.
like, and so I don't know, it's just again, it was kind of interesting because I remember. Let me see. Let me pull up this story because there was one post on X, aka Twitter, where I think a lot of people like were sharing this one. It was like it said, "Call me a hater, but announcing the Thunderbolts to be in Avengers before Thunderbolts even comes out kind of takes away some of the stakes for that movie. I thought some of them were going to die. I mean, they still could.
You're right.
In my opinion, again, I could be clearly wrong. I don't have access to the Doomsday script. I don't know what they have planned. I don't know, but I just think, as someone who's watched every single MCU movie, um, and seen the shows, and know that, especially now with the introduction of the multiverse, anything could happen. Um,
My question to you: who has the bigger cast now? Avengers Doomsday or the Odyssey movie? I think they are.
Doomsday,
I
definitely
think they
Doomsday,
may have
because
taken the crown.
because they're not even done announcing
Yeah.
the cast. I saw that Marvel confirmed that, like, they're gonna be announcing more people for Doomsday. I'm like, is this gonna be a 4-part movie?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, they there's so
uh,
many people in this that they just have to like show up, like, and that's it. Like it's almost going to be like that
right.
last in-game, battle where people
Oh yeah,
dropped
just
in, or the
well, that's
funeral
also,
scene, like they're standing there
yeah,
and
they're just standing, which also makes me, wonder about what's, going on with Thunderbolts, because, those characters could just show up as cameos. They could just
right.
show up as flashbacks. They could just show up in one pivotal scene just because they're
Or
in,
or because it is a multiverse, like, or whatever, like maybe they'll time hop through some of these other movies like they did with Endgame. So,
yes.
you
Who
know,
knows? That's what I'm saying. So, like, I don't think it. I don't think you can go into Thunderbolts thinking, oh well, there's no stakes here because everybody's just going to survive, just simply because the actors that are in that movie are going to be in Doomsday. That's what I'm saying. But
good point.
we'll find out. We'll find out
Yes.
soon because it comes out May 1st.
Wow.
I'm
Yes,
very.
that's really soon.
It's literally right around the corner. I
Yeah.
think tickets just went on sale
Oh wow.
for it. So, which I haven't got my ticket yet, but I'm
Slacker. I
waiting to
mean,
see
I
if there's
didn't
an
either.
early screening. But yeah, a movie that just came out, was it last week,
Mm-hmm.
and has been doing really well at the box office. A Minecraft movie, which I saw, and I thought it was okay. But it has kind of taken a life of its own because now there's a number of theaters warning people to behave themselves because apparently people are getting very disruptive in
Yes.
these showings.
I mean, I've seen videos of people like losing their minds, especially like with the what's the chicken thing?
Oh
The
yes.
the guy that's on the little chicken or whatever, and people were
Yeah.
going crazy, and then the post credit scene, if
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
people were going. I had to look that up because I was like, I know nothing about Minecraft,
Okay.
and
Yes. Yes.
um, but yeah, so it's funny that you say this. Your reaction to this movie is what I've heard from almost everybody. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
was a movie. And if you liked Minecraft, you probably there was enough in there that you enjoyed. If you kind of knew a little bit about Minecraft, it's at least an enjoyable movie, but it's not, you know,
It
it's
doesn't.
not
It's not
Citizen
gonna wow
Kane.
you. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's not
Um,
amazing. Yeah,
right.
yeah. That's kind of how I felt. I was like, I mean, I'm not a huge Minecraft person. I know enough about the game that I understood, some of the references. Um, but yeah, it was just like, okay. I mean, there's some entertaining parts here. It's not the greatest, but you know, it's fine.
Jack Black's going to be Jack Black. And
Jack Black is doing the Jack Black thing. But yeah, I saw like you, I saw a number of videos on social media where people were throwing popcorn, shouting at the screen. And look, one of my first jobs was working in a movie theater, and I usually worked concession. Sometimes they would have me jump in and help out clean the theaters if we were like really slammed on a busy like weekend and they needed to help like get these turn over these theaters so we can get people in. And I used to hate going into the theaters where people have it literally was like, did you miss your mouth? Did you just take the bag of popcorn, box of popcorn, and just dump it on the floor? Like, did you even try to eat it? I mean, just how do you just lose this much popcorn? And it's expensive. What are you doing?
yes, right. It's like
So
a carton of eggs, and a movie theater popcorn is right behind it as far
yes,
as
yes.
how
Like,
much it
why are
costs.
you wasting this? What are you doing?
I
Um,
will tell you, I am notorious for I have no like hand eye or hand mouth coordination. So like I tell people like I eat popcorn like I'm the Cookie Monster and like things are flying. I don't know how I do it, but there's always
oh my
like
gosh.
a pile of popcorn around me. It's kind of
You
embarrassing,
need
but
like a popcorn bib or something. Somebody
I
needs to invent
do,
one of those
yes.
things
Or like
like
a
catches
like
all
one of
the
those
popcorn.
like a
Yeah,
horse feeding bag that I can just stick my
yes.
face into.
Put
Like
it on.
that would be the
Just put
best.
it on your. You're just eating the popcorn. Maybe that's the next thing. Some
I
kind of
mean,
popcorn bucket.
right, exactly. Like we're not too far away from that, I don't think. But
Yeah, but
um
yeah. But I saw the discussions around this because there were some people who were like, well, it's just fans having fun. They're cheering on and shouting and having a blast. And there's some people like, no, 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 like you're disrupting this movie. You're ruining it for other people. I'm on that side of like, I think this particular kind of behavior that we're seeing, like in the videos and stuff, is disruptive.
yeah.
There's a difference, I think, between having fun and enjoying the movie, and yes, you might clap or cheer. I mean, we were just talking about Marvel. I've been to many Marvel movies opening weekend. It's packed with Marvel fans. They clap and cheer as soon as that Marvel logo pops up. When a specific character shows up, people are cheering, right? Especially when we
Hmm.
got to like Infinity War and Endgame, like a lot of that was happening. But it didn't like carry on throughout the entire movie. It was like it felt like a collective thing, and it wasn't just like It seems like with Minecraft movie, it's a group of people, sometimes teenagers, who are doing this, and they're shouting and throwing things and being very disruptive. And I just think that's terrible, especially because
Hmm.
not too long ago we were talking about how movie theaters need to find ways to get people to return to the theater. One of the reasons people don't is because they feel like there's so much disruption. Either people are on their phones, texting, or talking through the movie. And it's like, why would I want to pay to go watch a
Right.
movie at a theater? I'll just wait and watch it at home. I don't have to worry about the noise. I don't have to worry about the distractions. And so a lot of theaters, I think, are, taking the stance of like, if you're being disruptive like this, don't,
Yeah.
because we will kick you out. And I'm okay with that.
I yeah, I mean I don't find like when people cheer because like their favorite character that they didn't know was going to be in it or they do something great, like that's not disruptive to me. That is
No,
like
no.
you're having a natural reaction to this, which
Mm-hmm.
is cool. And that's what I was going to ask you is like you know, the crowds can really make or break your theater experience and your perception of the movie. So like
Mm-hmm.
but what I've noticed is coming out of the pandemic, I've been in some movies lately where I've had some weird stuff happen in a theater. Like
Mm-hmm.
recently I don't remember which movie it was, but there was a woman that was full on drunk that was next to me, and she and her friend, I mean, she was reacting to everything,
Oh my gosh. That
like
would drive me
every little
nuts.
thing, and it was so distracting. And then there was another movie, it was actually Captain America,
Mm-hmm.
um this woman was sitting next to me, like she was probably like in her early 20s,
Hmm.
but like she was I thought she was like an anime character come to life. Like she was just doing all sorts of like weird arm movements and like really overreacting to the point where it was like
Yeah.
distracting. And I think like I think there was some neurodivergent stuff going on there,
Mm.
which is why I didn't like say anything or whatever, but
Hmm.
it was very distracting.
Hmm.
And I'm just seeing like a trend in like bad behavior, and I don't know if it's because there's not as many people going to the theater anymore or
Yeah,
what.
I went to go see a Minecraft movie on the Thursday night that it opened, like that preview night. And I went to the earliest screening possible, and I ended up having to switch my screening because when I got in there was a group of people, a couple rows behind me, who were talking through the entire first 15 minutes of the movie. And I didn't I was like, but I couldn't even hear if I don't know if you've seen a Minecraft movie.
No, I've not. Mm-mm.
Okay, this is not a spoiler, but like the first part of that movie is Jack Black's character giving a monologue, basically like kind of setting up who his character is and everything. And so, it's not like this movie's hard to follow plot wise, but
Right.
it's like it's the start of it. And he's explaining some things. I couldn't hear any of it because they were like,
Wow.
oh, like, yeah. And I was like, are you going to keep doing this the whole movie? Or are you going to stop? And I'm very patient. So I sat there for a whole 15 minutes and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go. And
Right.
thankfully, I left when I did because I was able to just get the next movie that was starting in the next like 10 minutes. Um, but it wasn't as bad as people throwing popcorn, but still, it was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
come on. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. But I mean,
But despite
I
all
wonder,
of,
like this movie's doing well at box office, but I do
yeah,
wonder
that's what I was
because of
gonna.
the news with this, the warnings and the disruptive showings, if that's going to prevent people who have been waiting to go see the movie from going to see it, right? People who are like, okay, I will take my kids the next weekend because maybe that's when we're free to go, and now they're seeing people are shouting and throwing things. They're like, do I want to take my kids to the movies
Right.
to see that, and they have to deal with people shouting? Right? I don't know. We'll
I
see if it has
mean,
any impact.
yeah. So what I've seen is that they're expecting that the Minecraft movie is going to do like crazy numbers
Mm-hmm.
again this next weekend because and we'll talk a little bit about what's coming up soon, but like yeah, it'll be interesting to see the lasting power of it. But I was shocked, like it is not only was it is it the number one movie of 2025, but it
Mm-hmm.
also beat Super Mario Brothers opening weekend.
Yeah,
So
I'm actually not shocked that it did really well at the box office because
I'm not shocked
it
that it
checked
did. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
it checked all the same boxes that Mario did. Like
Yeah.
Mario did. I mean, I love Mario, so it's a
Oh, me
little
too.
different because I'm not I don't love Minecraft, but it has that same appeal. One, it's the first family kids movie that's come out that people could take their kids to see. Mario was the same thing when it came out. It was like one of the first movies that year that was a family friendly movie. And when you have one of those, people those movies, if they do well, or if it's something that parents know their kids will want to see, they will take them. And those movies will do much better than the R-rated movies because you have a family of four going as opposed to a couple or a single person, right?
Right.
So that's you're doubling your box office there, guaranteed, just because a family is going. And then second, it had the built-in fan base, right? This video game came out, Minecraft came out in like 2011. So you have a whole generation of people who played this game probably when they were kids or teenagers, and they're now adults. And you have kids who are playing Minecraft too. So it's got that fan base where like people are like, I'm so excited, I love Minecraft, like let's go. Yeah, so I was not surprised at all that it did as well as it did.
Although I'm a little like under that same guise, I feel like I was a little surprised that the Dogman movie didn't make a bigger splash than it did, just because I know those characters are very popular. I think maybe it just they waited too long to make the movie because I feel like
Yeah,
it
because
was
yeah,
bigger
and it
like
has,
maybe 5 years ago than it was
yeah,
is now.
yeah.
But I didn't even see a ton like advertising. Now I'm sure like I don't watch, you know, programming that is designed for kids that much. So like
So you probably, yeah,
maybe
you
it's
wouldn't have
not
seen the ads. Yeah,
being
yeah.
marketed to me. But I was surprised that it I didn't see more about it. I
Hmm.
mean, obviously, I saw Minecraft being advertised everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we'll see if it ends up being, one of the biggest movies of the year. It will have some competition though.
yeah,
There's
super
there's super
competition.
competition because we're going to be getting into. We were just talking about Thunderbolts, um, which is coming out next month, and then it's going to start ushering in that summer you know box office season, and Superman is going to be one of the movies released. And this one is a big one, I think, because there's a lot hinging on this one.
Yeah.
This is going to be the first new, superhero movie from this new DC Studios. James Gunn is directing this one, and Warner Brothers released a 5-minute sneak peek of Superman the same weekend that they released Minecraft movie. In fact, the preview played before my Minecraft um, showing, and then they released it online. They also showed it at CinemaCon. But I watched the footage, and look, I was already excited to see Superman just because I like that character, and I'm curious to see what direction James Gunn's going to take this. Because I feel like every time they do a Superman movie, they kind of do it the same way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking for a fresh kind of take on it. But I watched the footage, and it didn't really. I wouldn't say it underwhelmed me, but it just didn't really do much to get me more excited about the movie, if that makes sense. Like I watched it and I was like, huh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I think
Again,
that sums it up.
I'm excited to see Superman. But the footage, I was just like, okay. I saw it was
Well,
dividing fans because some people were mad that like Superman was shown as vulnerable because the
yeah.
footage it's just an extension of what they've been showing in the trailers. But Crypto shows up and he's like pouncing on Superman, and Superman's in pain, and then he takes him off. But I'm like, I don't know. people
I
people like to argue.
yeah, yes, for sure. And you, they love to attack anything new, different, or like, whatever. But I
Yeah.
think it did I think it did do a couple of things that are important. One is this is not the Zack Snyder dark Superman that we've seen.
Right. So it's more lighthearted. I mean, even the footage is brighter. It's not
Yes.
like that desaturated kind of thing. Yeah.
Post-apocalyptic kind of
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
look or whatever,
Yeah.
but and then we got that John Williams, there's a little bit of that John Williams classic score.
Mm-hmm.
um so that makes me think that they're gonna, again, they're not reinventing the wheel here, but I feel like what we're seeing is kind of a return to form to that Superman that we're a little more accustomed to
Familiar
in
with.
the
Mm-hmm.
movies.
Mm-hmm.
And then setting up for the other things, because I think that's why we're seeing like Nathan Fillion in there as one of the Green Lanterns. And
Right, because they're
so I
gonna have a
think,
Lantern series,
yeah,
and I think they confirmed that he's going to be in
yes, he's
it.
going to be in it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then they have the Supergirl movie that's gonna
Mm-hmm.
come after it. So yeah.
So it's almost like this is going to be the launching pad for all of that. Now,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got to be
This
honest.
is this is the launching. This is the movie that's going to launch the new DC Cinematic Universe. I don't even know if they're actually calling it the DC Cinematic Universe, but that's what I'm calling it. So a lot is riding on this. That's why I was like, okay, this is why maybe they're releasing the sneak peek footage of like,
Apparently, I
okay,
thumbsed up that.
oh,
I I
yay.
don't know. I can't get it
Um,
to do it again.
but yeah. So it is. I think there's a lot riding on this movie. Um,
Um, I'll be interested to see, like obviously James Gunn did wonderful things for Guardians of the Galaxy and even the Suicide Squad.
mhm.
I enjoyed his take on that. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think like what do I want to see in this Superman movie, and I honestly don't know. Uh, Um,
Well, Superman has always been a hard character to
yeah,
do because he is, on paper and even on screen, he's just like with the exception of his, kryptonite weakness, he mostly seems just completely invincible.
right.
So, how do you like with a lot of the we were just talking about, Thunderbolts and some of these other characters, these superheroes, they have a lot of vulnerabilities. I mean, and that's what kind of like humanizes them and makes them interesting. But do you want a humanized Superman, or do you want a Superman that is, godlike, and all powerful? And there's always been that sort of, I think, push and pull with, even among fans about which kind of Superman that they want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And so, which one do you do? I don't know. But I just want to see, honestly, I just want to see a movie with a lot of heart, something that doesn't feel so like depressing,
Yeah, I was gonna
just
say light. I just want like
light,
a
just hopeful. I don't
yeah,
know. It's kind of like how I
especially
felt when,
now. Like
well, because it
we.
was kind of like how I felt when COVID was happening, and
Mhm.
everybody had been talking about the series Ted Lasso, and I hadn't gotten around to watching. Then I finally watched it. And I was like, this is so great because it was just, you're isolated from people. You're just like, it's just, you're down. And then I watched Ted Lasso, and it's just this hopefulness, and that's kind of what I want with Superman. I just want
Yeah.
something hopeful and light and fun, and yeah.
I do think Nicholas Holt looks like the character from the Hitman video games more than he does Lex
Yes, the
Luthor.
Lex Luthor. I thought about it too the first time I saw him. I was like, yeah, but he's a great actor, so we'll see what he
Oh yeah.
does with it. I think the casting is great. I just really want to see, at this point, like, I'm tired of trailers and teasers. I just want to
Yes.
see movies. Because I feel like the more I see a teaser and trailer, it's like the more I'm like, do I pick this apart or not? Like, just give me the movie.
Right.
So I'm just excited to see the movie.
Now I
Um,
also like the Fortress of Solitude. I thought that had a really cool look and it like
yeah,
shifted a little bit and
yeah,
I was like, "Oh, cool." But it still has that homage to like the older movies and obviously
right,
the comic books as well.
yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't the most exciting footage I've ever seen, but it
yeah.
like I said, it was doing
But
a lot more than I think um when I was looking, I was like, I see what they're doing here, I
mm-hmm,
think.
mm-hmm.
But it's not enough to get me super excited about it. And to be honest, I kind of forgot that movie was even coming out until this footage came out. So
Blasphemy. Okay.
I
Well,
know. My
then it
bad.
did
My
its
bad.
job for you then, because it's like,
Yes, right.
this movie's coming. I already knew it was coming out and remembered. So,
Well,
um,
I remember seeing the trailer, or the
yeah, yeah.
teaser and stuff, but like yeah, and then it left my mind completely. I for some reason I thought it was coming out next year, but nope.
No, nope. This summer. Speaking of movies coming out, there's quite a few movies coming out this weekend. In fact, there's
Mhm.
probably, I think it's like 4 new movies, 3 or 4 new movies coming out this weekend. I've seen most of them. We have The Amateur, starring Rami Malek. Warfare, it's a new movie from Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza. And then also there's a movie Drop, from the same producers, Blumhouse, from like Happy Death Day and things like that. I saw all 3 of those movies. If you're at all interested in what I thought about those movies, I have my reviews up on the channel, so check those out. Again, it's been a couple weeks since the last time we did an episode. Jed, what was the last movie you saw in theaters?
Well, the last one that I saw was Hell of a Summer.
Mm,
If you don't know that one, because a lot of people that I was like, "Hey, I'm going to go see this movie," they were like, "What are you talking about? What movie?" It's a horror comedy.
mm.
Probably the only recognizable face will be Wolf Finhard. Finn
Okay.
Wolfhard. Yes,
Finn
you know who
Wolfhard.
I'm talking
Yes.
about
Yes,
from
yes.
Stranger Things.
Names are
Uh,
so hard, man. That's like
yes.
towards the end of the week. I'm
He
done.
co-wrote it
Mm,
as well. I saw the trailer for this ahead of one movie, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this looks like right up my alley. I think this will be really funny."
hmm.
And I'll be honest, you can wait for it to stream. It did
Okay.
not live up to the potential, so I think either stream it or skip it, and you'll be
Okay.
just as good.
Okay.
Um, Out of those movies, though, that you were saying that you've seen, which one would you recommend going to see this weekend?
Well, they're all very different. I mean, and
Hmm.
maybe the Amateur and Warfare may be a little closer to each other, but I think if you want, it just depends on what you want. If you want something that's just completely entertaining, fun, very very good, go see Drop, because it's just one of those. It's a popcorn flick. It's just a
Hmm.
good time in the theater. You don't have to think too hard about it. It delivers, and it's fun. If you want something a little bit with a little bit more meat to it, Maybe something a little bit, more like mature subject matter. I think Warfare. I really like The Amateur. It's a spy
Hmm.
thriller. But Warfare just like it wowed me. I really thought it was well done. So, um, yeah.
We
All right.
we also both saw and won't dwell on this too long, but Death of a Unicorn,
Oh yes,
which
yes, yeah. That came out between the time that we did the last
yes,
episode. Yeah.
yes. And to go back to our movie theater, so I had a different take on it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I watched your review because I was curious as to what you thought of it, and
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much wholeheartedly disagree with with you on it. For me, it worked,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I was just curious, going back to our audience
Mm-hmm.
conversation. How was the audience for you in that movie? Were they reacting to the jokes, or did they kind of fall flat?
For the most part, they were reacting. I
Okay.
like they would laugh at parts, and I would be like, so I just think the movie wasn't for me.
Okay.
I really just, I don't know. I really wanted to like it, but there was so much about that movie that I felt like just didn't work. Like I said, we're not going to dwell on it, but
Yeah.
yeah. I think comedy is hard to do.
Yes.
And it's a
Horror
horror
comedy is
comedy.
even
It's even
harder.
hard.
Yeah.
Yes, it's even
Yeah.
harder. So for me, it's like if you can't land the comedy, but a lot of it is shoehorned into the movie, then you've lost me, right? And so comedy probably worked for you more so than it did for me, and maybe that's why you felt like it works better. But yeah,
I
I like the
yeah, I saw it
cast.
more like satirical, I think,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like, the medical community and
Oh
rich
yeah,
people,
yeah,
like it almost the comedy White Lotus.
yeah.
But I agree with you, the CGI was terrible in
Awful. It
parts.
was totally horrible. Yeah,
That end scene where yeah. Anyway,
yeah. It was bad.
one weird thing that never was explained was sometimes the unicorns were like black and sometimes they were white, and I don't know why.
Well, I don't know if I was kind of explain it because it might be spoilers. I think there's a specific reason we can talk about it, but I think the movie kind of cleared that up.
Oh, okay. Maybe
But
I missed it because my wife did too, and she was
yeah,
like, "Yeah, what was up with that?" Because I noticed like in this
I
one
don't want to
scene,
say
it's
because I feel like what if I explain it, it's a
yeah,
spoiler.
yeah.
But yeah, Death of a Unicorn, not one of my favorites of the year. Okay, so now it's time for that moment in the show where we do our one cool thing. We share something cool that we've learned, or a suggestion, recommendation, whatnot. So, Jed, start us off. What's your one cool thing this year?
Okay, so I had a couple, but I
Oh
narrowed it
God.
down to this one.
Okay.
My my one cool thing is the oneer, which is just like one continuous shot.
Oh,
And
okay.
the reason that I picked it is because there are two shows that are out right now that have leaned into this. And if you
Mm,
don't know, there's several movies that have used like one giant long continuous shot
mm-hmm.
to do a scene. They're incredibly hard to do
Mm-hmm.
because if anybody messes up, you got to start back at the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah, yeah.
So that being said, if you've not seen the show Adolescence on Netflix, it
I
is
have not yet.
incredible.
Okay.
So 4 episodes. Every episode start to finish is one continuous shot, and they filmed it
Mm,
in one continuous shot, and the behind the scenes are really really cool to watch. I will tell you that
oh,
the first
interesting.
episode of that show is a little slow, but
Mm-hmm.
once it gets into, because you're trying to figure out what's going on and that kind of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
thing, but once it gets into it, it is like, you're gripping the side of your chair going, oh my gosh, what's going to happen in this? So
Okay.
really really good show. Also, Apple TV is on episode 3, I think, of The Studio with
Mm-hmm.
Seth Rogen.
Mm-hmm.
Really all-star cast, and every episode has like a guest star of somebody like
Mm-hmm.
super famous that you'll recognize. I don't think you've seen it yet, have you?
No,
Ashley?
no, I haven't
No,
seen it yet. Yeah, no.
you'll love it when you get
Okay.
around to it. But every scene in that is shot as a continuous shot as well. There's one episode. It's I believe episode 2 called the Oneer, and
Oh, okay.
the whole episode is in one whole shot.
Okay.
And they make references to it. Like there's a lot. It's very inside Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of thing. And you know, everybody says like, oh, why don't they make great movies
Mm-hmm.
anymore? Or like, if I was in charge, I would do this or that. And you get to see and hear why that's not always possible,
Mm-hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I just think that the one shot, which you don't see a ton, but when you do, it's kind of magical, is
Mm-hmm.
having almost a renaissance in TV shows lately. And to me, that was super cool. So that's my one cool thing.
Awesome. My one cool thing is TV related as well. I just before we were recording this, I was telling you I sometimes put ER on in the background. It's like one of my favorite TV shows. I recently started watching The Pit. It's
Oh
by
yeah.
some of the same people who created ER. It also stars Noah Wiley,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not the same as ER at all. I think a lot of people were wondering or worried about that when this show was announced, but I've really enjoyed it. And what's been fascinating is like just how this show is set up, because each episode is like an hour
Mm-hmm.
into the shift for that day. So the
Oh,
first episode is like 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. and you're seeing what happens in that hour at the hospital. And then when you get to like later episodes, it's like, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., right?
so it's
And
almost like
it's
24.
almost like 24, but in a
Yeah.
hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
That's
they're not
interesting.
saving the
Yeah.
world. They're saving
Yeah.
patients and things, and there's things that happen in unfold. So it's really interesting to see how they do with like character development and the stories because of how this is set up. But it's been really fun, enjoyable watch, and also it's kind of led me down this rabbit hole, like because I spent a lot of time on YouTube where I've been watching real doctors react to The Pit,
Oh.
and
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmingly, all of them have been saying this is probably the most realistic medical show that has ever been made because of just how they from the way that they handle the cases and the way they show like the hospital management and the things that doctors are going through now, nurses are going through now. And I was like, oh, because I've always wondered that, because like ER is one of my favorite shows, and it's somewhat realistic in some aspects, and a lot of it is just drama. But yeah, so The Pit, that's been my
Is
one cool thing.
is it done now? Like, is this season 1 over?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I maybe it is. I'm a couple episodes behind because I've just
Oh,
been so
gotcha.
busy with things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably close to the end if it isn't already. But
Well,
I
I'll
think the
have
last
to.
episode I watched was like episode 11. I feel like
Oh,
there's
yeah, it's got
12
to
or
be
13 or something.
close. Yeah.
Yeah. So really good show.
Now, did you
Um,
see that the like George Clooney's on Broadway and his ER cast came to see his show?
oh no, I didn't. No,
I thought
that's
that was
cool.
cool. You know, like
Yeah, yeah,
the support. You know, this many years later.
yeah.
Um,
That's cool. Okay, so that wraps up our show for this week. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you jump into the comments and share your thoughts about any of the topics that we talked about here. And make sure you subscribe so that way you don't miss any future episodes of the recap. So thank you for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.